President Vladimir Putin's conditions for ending the war in Ukraine include a demand that Western leaders pledge in writing to stop enlarging NATO eastwards and lift a chunk of sanctions on Russia, according to 3 Russian sources with knowledge of the negotiations. President Donald Trump has repeatedly said he wants to end the deadliest European conflict since World War II and has shown increasing frustration with Putin in recent days, warning on Tuesday the Russian leader was playing with fire by refusing to engage in ceasefire talks with Kyiv as his forces made gains on the battlefield. After speaking to Trump for more than 2 hours last week, Putin said that he had agreed to work with Ukraine on a memorandum that would establish the contours of a peace accord, including the timing of a ceasefire. Russia says it is currently drafting its version of the memorandum and cannot estimate how long that will take. The 3 Russian sources said Putin wants a written pledge by major Western powers not to enlarge the US-led NATO alliance eastwards, shorthand for formally ruling out membership to Ukraine, Georgia, and Moldova and other former Soviet republics. Russia also wants Ukraine to be neutral, some Western sanctions lifted, a resolution of the issue of frozen Russian sovereign assets in the West, and protection for Russian speakers in Ukraine, the 3 sources said. The Kremlin did not respond to a request for comment on Reuters reporting. Putin and Russian officials have repeatedly said any peace deal must address the root causes of the conflict, Russian shorthand for the issue of NATO enlargement and Western support for Ukraine. Kyiv has repeatedly said that Russia should not be granted veto power over its aspirations to join the NATO alliance. Ukraine says it needs the West to give it a strong security guarantee with teeth to deter any future Russian attack. As Trump and Putin joust in public over the outlook for 2018 peace in Ukraine, Reuters could not determine whether the intensification of the war and the toughening of positions herald a determination to reach a deal or the collapse of talks. In addition to Crimea, which it annexed in 2014, Russia currently controls almost all of Luhansk, more than 70% of Donetsk, Zaporizhzhia, and Kherson regions. It also occupies a sliver of the Kharkiv and Sumy regions and is threatening Dnipropetrovsk. Former President Joe Biden, Western European leaders, and Ukraine cast the invasion as an imperial-style land grab and have repeatedly vowed to defeat Russian forces. NATO, founded in 1949 to provide security against the Soviet Union, says it poses no challenge to Russia, though its 2022 assessment of peace and security in the Euro-Atlantic area identified Russia as the most significant and direct threat.